Hello, math students. Welcome back to Module 4, Expressions and Equations. This is Lesson 6, and it is called Writing and Expanding Multiplication Expressions. Our goal for today is, today we will learn how to write expressions using multiplication terms. The question that I want you to think about during this lesson is, how many different symbols are used to show multiplication? All right, so some things that you need to know. Again, we have been spending a lot of time working on identifying important vocabulary. So some more important vocabulary words that you need to know and you need to be able to recognize are, first one is factor, okay? A factor is a number multiplied by another number to make a new number. So the factors of 6 are 1 times 6 equals 6, and 2 times 3 equals 6. So the factors are actually the numbers that you would multiply together to get the answer. So the factors of 6 are 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. And you also have to remember that a factor is when you have a number multiplied by another number. So the factor itself is the number that you're going to multiply by another number to get an answer. Okay? Well then, what is the answer to a multiplication problem? You've got it. The answer to a multiplication problem is the product. So the product is the solution or the answer when numbers are multiplied together. So 8 is the product of 2 multiplied by 4. So the factors that make up 8 are 2 and 4. The product that 2 times 4 makes is 8. So product means the solution or the answer when numbers are being multiplied, and the factors are the numbers that you use to find the answer. Okay? The next one that you need to know about is the word coefficient. A coefficient is the number being multiplied to a variable. It sits right next to the variable. So this right here is called a coefficient because it is the number that describes how many variables you have. 4x, so 4 is the coefficient, and in your mind it's telling you I have 4 x's. 1/2 would be the coefficient because it means I have half of t. 8 is the coefficient because that means I have 8 c's. So the coefficient is the number being multiplied to the variable, and it sits right next to the variable. It is the amount of the number of variables you have. So again, I have 4 x's, I have half of t, and I have 8 c's. So the number is called the coefficient. A term is the part of the expression that can be separated from the expression. Okay, so that could get a little bit tricky. However, it's not if you pay attention to what I'm going to show you right now. So this right here is one term. This right here is another term. And this right here is another term. So in this one expression right here, we see 3 terms. And the reason that these are each 3 separate terms is because you cannot combine 2x and 4x. Because what that means is I have 2 x's right here, I have 4 y's right here, and I have 8 things. We don't know what they are. So 2 x's is not the same as 4 y's, so they have to be kept in their own little group. So their own little group is what we call a term. So this is the x term, this is the y term, and then this is just whatever 8 is. That's a separate term as well. Okay? And so terms are the part of the expression that can be separated from each other because they don't have anything in common. All right, like terms then, that leads us to our next thing that we have to talk about. And what we have to talk about are like terms. Like terms are terms that are related because they have a trait in common. So that means that if they have the same thing, they can be put together. So one way that I like to always identify like terms is I like to put them into same groups. So for example, if we look very carefully with this, we see an X group. Okay. We see a Y group And then the only other group that we see is just a number group. So I'm going to use your favorite thing. You all call it a hashtag. I call it a number sign. So this is the number group. Okay. And then what I like to do is I like to put them in a list so that I can find them. So I know this is an X. I know this is an X. I know that this is a Y. And I know this is a Y. And then I know that this belongs in the number group and this belongs in the number group. And then that means that I can put them in the same piles. So for example, right here, I have, according to that little picture right there, I have 2 X's. Oh, let me use the right color, sorry. 2 X's, so I have 2 X's right there. And then in this one right here, I'm actually taking away one of the X's, right? Because that says subtract X. So I actually have to take one of them away and put it gone. Okay, then I have in the Y group, I have 3 Y's right there. And then I have, and it's saying add 8 Y's, so I have 8 more Y's. So I add 8 more Y's, and then that's what I have in that group. And then in this group, it says that I have 7. Okay, let me use that color. Sorry, this should have been a purple. 7 and 11. So that means I have 7 and I have 11. And so if I was to actually combine this and write another expression that you know how to do, if I take one of the X's away, then I am left with 1X, right? Plus, count your Y's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 11 Y's plus 7 and 11 together makes 18. And so that would be my combined expression of all of these like terms. Okay? So again, going back to what this means, like terms are terms that are related because they have a trait in common. And that means that you can put them together as long as they have something in common. Okay? So that's all I have on this lesson today. Let's go back to our goal. Today we will learn how to write expressions using multiplication terms, which is what we did. Okay, so question, how many different symbols can be used to show multiplication? There's quite a few actually. We didn't even talk about that, but for multiplication, we have the dot. We also have using parentheses. We also have where you just have a coefficient, so like 2 and times x, so it's just they sit next to each other. And as long as this is a number and this is a variable, it will work. You can't use this method right here with 2 numbers because then it would look like 2 numbers. For example, if I said I have 2 groups of 8, then instead of knowing that this is 2 groups of 8, some people could get confused and say, no, that's 28. So we typically, when we have 2 numbers that we're multiplying together, we do not do it like that because it's very confusing. We think it would be 28 instead of 2 groups of 8. So the way that you would actually write 2 groups of 8 is you would say, I have 2 groups of 8. That would be the way that you write it. Or you would write it 2 groups of 8. Okay, do you see how that changes the way that it looks? All right, kiddos, that's all I have for you in this lesson. Talk to you soon. Bye.